Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today with set number 75200. This is the Ahch-To Island Training, containing 241 pieces and retailing for $29.99 in the United States, containing 2 minifigures and a porg. This set was released as part of the January 1st, 2018 wave of LEGO Star Wars sets, along with the likes of the First Order AT-ST and the Defensive Crate, and this set in particular was one that was very anticipated, or very highly anticipated, as it did give us our first Luke Skywalker minifigure, as well as a much cheaper way to get the porg than the UCS Millennium Falcon was. So Ahch-To Island kind of began this trend of little $30 playset builds, which continued with Yoda's hut and the Hoth Medical Chamber. It was basically a slightly larger version of what we'd seen in 2017, beginning with the Naboo final battle with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, whatever that, Duel on Naboo, I think is what it was called, and the Darth Vader transformation, which had been $25 sets with basically a similar goal. So, this did offer a little bit of a price increase in, sets of a similar style. Was the $5 increase worth what we get here in this one? Maybe. It does seem very small for a $30 set. I don't know. It's not tiny. It's actually bigger than I was expecting based on the box, but it feels, I guess compared to other Star Wars $30 sets, it doesn't feel too much smaller, but it does look a little bit simpler. However, the level of detail throughout this is pretty good. It is built on a sort of modular style, so you can remove these two sections from the main hut. They're just attached with Technic pins, and I guess if you wanted to, you could swap them around. If you wanted to do that and that. The ground doesn't fit up too well, and it definitely looks better the way it's recommended to do it, but just if you wanted to, you could do that, and you could also with that feature, you could just swap this to the other side if you wanted to. So it's got a little bit of modularity to it. It's always nice, and you could easily just, with your own pieces, make something that'll hook up with those two Technic pins, and be able to round out the building on all the sides. This front section here, there's really not much going on. It's just kind of a little rock section. There's a little fire, which you could use to cook some food if you're Luke living here all alone. But other than that, there's really just a little bit of rocks to get up into the entrance. This section here has a little bit of a play feature incorporated into it, and throughout the set there aren't a ton of play features. It's kind of mostly almost a dollhouse style thing, which isn't something we get often from Star Wars. But this here, you can place Rey here with her lightsaber, and if you, I guess first you could just do that and just hit it over and over again until you knock it out. You could do that if you wanted to. Or you could try and get it just right and place the top of that on very, very loosely. And maybe we have to raise the lightsaber a little bit. And go like that. And just try and knock off the whole thing now, so that the roof of that, or the cap of the boulder, knocks off, and it reveals this little crystal, which this is just the same mold that they use for Chima crystals. They've just kept using that occasionally in other settings. But yeah, that's to kind of represent Rey's training on Ahch-To, which, the name of the set is Ahch-To Island Training, so I guess it's important to get that in there. Now, with the stuff off to the side, kind of taken care of, you can look at the actual hut itself. There's not too much going on here. It does a decent job of resembling what it's supposed to do. You get this unique cut of cloth, which can be just pushed to the side. That kind of represents the little doorway. That's kind of unique, and I like that. It's nice to get a cool little cloth piece there. Again, throughout the set we do have a couple of stickers, just creating a little bit of the rock work. We got one up here on the roof, and then one over here on this side of the roof. But yeah, other than that, there's not too much to say about the exterior here. Over here we have this little jumper. The only thing I can assume you could use that for is maybe a perch for the porg. There is also, on the roof, which is removable, There's this little 2x2 brown plate that's kind of inset, and the porg doesn't fit in there perfectly, but you could use that as a porg's nest up there too if you wanted to. So you could have your porgs living up there on top of the house. And then if we turn around into the back of the house, there's a little bit of interior detail. We've got this this play feature here, which just allows you to knock out the wall and I guess walk through. I'm not a big fan of this play feature at all. I mean, I guess it kind of represents the breaking up of the island, but since it's right here at the very back, it really doesn't do much at all, and there's, like, I wish that had been set up so that you could use it as an escape route, but there's furniture in the way of that even, so it doesn't work too well. You can flip that up, but that is a bed. You can have a figure lie down in it without too much difficulty at all. Or, you know, if you're not using it, you can just fold that up against the wall, and if it's perfectly there, there's a little panel to make that a little easier. I do have this, which is a toilet, maybe? I don't know. And then you got this little stick on the wall, and then a bucket of fish in there. And over here, we've got this little removable section, which, I don't know, it's got a lamp on there, and you got a cup inside, this little bucket or some cherries in green, and then you have a little pan sitting on the stove, and you can remove the roof to just make it a little bit easier to see all that. But yeah, it's a pretty decently furnished interior for the size, but again, that's for the size. It is very, very small and cramped. You can fit a figure in there, but you'd have to push it in order to fit too. I guess if we were to stick him way back here, and then stick Ray right here, like, it gets a little cramped very quickly. So first up, I guess we'll start with the most anticipated figure, and that is Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi. And this is a pretty cool figure to get here. This is the only set we've gotten an older version of Luke Skywalker in so far. I assume we'll get another one eventually, but you know, for now, this is what we're left with, and I think they did a pretty decent job with it. His staff is, you know, just a staff. It's like a lightsaber, except using a telescope and a non-translucent bar. So, you know, it just is what it is. But the torso and leg print, I think, look pretty good. They are going for the lighter design and not the darker robes from the end of the movie, which, you know, I think that's okay. He does have his robotic hand. And I think the face print on here is probably the highlight of the figure, at least for me. I think I did a really good job with that. And yeah, it's a pretty good look there. It does also have an alternate expression where he's a little angrier. And the hair mold that they used is actually a brand new, unique mold. You know, it was designed specifically for him. They do reuse it for Sirius Black from the summer 2019 Harry Potter sets, but for a year this mold was exclusive to this figure. And the other interesting / slightly odd thing about this figure is the cape is actually a unique cut of cloth, or at least I think it's unique. I haven't seen it before, but it's like, it's a little bit longer and wider than a regular cape. I don't know why, but instead of, you know, being the standard cape where it's like, even one of the things is normal capes are like, they're significantly more round looking at the edges when, you know, just laid out flat, but this one isn't. And the last thing to look at is there's a little bit of back printing on him, but I think overall they did a pretty good job with this figure. I would have liked to see one from, you know, the ending battle on Crate. I would have liked to see that version made, but they opted for this instead. I think this was pretty good, and I assume we'll get that other version eventually. And the Rey figure here is a little bit less interesting, but still, it's a unique variant of her, exclusive to the set currently. And I think it does a pretty good job. Honestly, this might be my favorite Rey figure. I think they did a good job with the Jakku ones, but from The Last Jedi, at least, this is my favorite outfit for her. She does use the same hair mold that she used in the Force Awakens sets, so it is that unique Rey-specific mold. There is some back printing on her torso. I like the dark tan jacket. I just think that works well. She does use the same Rey face, and, you know, has two expressions, and the leg print there is pretty good. She does come with her staff and her lightsaber, and I don't know. I think this figure is a lot simpler than some of the others, but I don't know, I think that it comes out pretty good. And last but certainly not least, we have the Porg, and this is a pretty cute little build for the Porg. I think it works pretty well, actually. It uses one of the BB-8 headpieces. The round ones are small, and they do a good job printing the feathers on that. The rest of it is just a simple brick build. I think it actually portrays the shape of a Porg decently well. Like, definitely better than you could do with, or definitely the best you could do without introducing a special Porg body mold. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they did a pretty good job with this. This is slightly different from the UCS Falcon version, but only in the colors of the body pieces, which, you know, none of those parts are exclusive in any of these colors, so it's really just the headpiece that makes the Porg special. But, you know, for what it is, I think that they did a really good job with these, and these do scale pretty well with the figure. They're obviously a little bit oversized, but at least they're not, like, you know, figure height. At least I didn't try and do them as minifigures with short legs. I don't know, that would have come out really, really fantastic. Yeah, overall, I think that the Ahch-To Island training set is alright. I don't think it's as good as some people say it is. I don't think it's bad, though. I think $30 is a little bit expensive for something like this. I don't know, it feels like there's something missing, but I can't quite name what. Maybe it would have been nice to get a couple more Porgs, because, you know, they are really simple builds. It would just mean including a couple more of those headpieces, really. And that's the only thing in there that, you know, is any amount of complex. And the part count at 241 for $30, you know, it's not the best price per piece. There's definitely room for improvement there. I don't think it's, like, it's not terrible, but, you know, it is kind of Star Wars level, which means that, you know, there are other sets out there where you can get a little bit more content for $30. Like, I think with certain Ninjago sets, I think there are a couple good Lego Movie 2 ones, but, you know, I don't think that this is unreasonable, especially when you take into consideration that it is Star Wars. I do think that Han Solo's Landspeeder is a better choice at that price point, and I would recommend that one over this one. Because, yeah, they basically have the same, they both have two exclusive figures, and animals. This one has a Porg, that one has two Corellian Hounds. Yep, Porgs are cooler, and I get there are going to be a lot of people who really want this Last Jedi Luke. So I guess if you want this minifigure, I guess I'd recommend it if you are a big fan of The Last Jedi, and, you know, liked this scene, this whole sequence. I think this does a good job of representing that in, you know, a small little diorama in Lego form. But I don't think that this is a must-have set for any Star Wars fan ever. I think if you didn't really like The Last Jedi, or you just were indifferent about the Ahch-To Island training scenes, then this set probably isn't for you. I don't think it has too much value unless you take into consideration what it's portraying specifically and a, you know, subjective appreciation for that. So, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you like this set? Do you have it? Did you like The Last Jedi? Maybe you hated The Last Jedi and still love the set anyway. If that's the case, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say in the comment section down below. But, regardless, leave me your comments, questions, concerns, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.